call.
All right, looking at today's agenda, I know we have some people that do need to step out, so we're going to really shoot for a 5 o'clock finish or prior. Any questions, discussion, additions to today's agenda? One thing, looking at the agenda, it was noted that the director's report that was printed and as part of the packet is the wrong date. And so we will have something presented during that time. Entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda. Second. Motion made by Bonnie, second by Kopp. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Aye. Motion carries. All right. The approval of our meeting minutes from March 12th. Any discussion?
There was just one thing that I saw on the second page when under financial report. Topic of discussion include the source of expenses under the categories of overtime. I just wanted to bring specification that Ian shared with us about that overtime, that it was a result of the team lock-in for the Valentine's program event. If anybody, if we're able to bring that specification.
That would be fine.
I move to approve the change.
Motion by Letterman, second by Tickholm. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. All right, next thing on the agenda is public comment that we received from Jenny Black. She was unable to be here at the time, so she had requested it be read aloud. Library Board, hello, this is Jenny Black. Thank you for reading my previous letter aloud at the beginning of the February meeting. Unfortunately, I cannot make it at the start time of the meeting because I have to pick my children up from school. Fortunately, I was able to join the meeting about 40 minutes after it started. I would like to clear up a few questions that presented themselves while the meeting progressed. Number one, the books I referenced last month were on the newly ordered children's bookshelf located in the children's section right outside of the elevator doors in the basement. The books are not front-facing books. Patrons have to pull the books out of the shelves. I'm not certain why it very much matters which way the books are facing. The books are still off-putting to both my children and I. Number two, Lisa, I've attached a copy of the book covers. The names alone wouldn't do them justice because the covers of the books are what my kids saw first and they were horrified by. I even have this printout sitting on my desk at home in preparation with this letter, and my daughter saw them and asked me to turn the paper with the picture of the covers over because they frightened her. Number three, John, I wasn't aware before the February meeting of the request for reconsideration form on the library website. After investigating the option, are you aware that no patron may challenge more than 3 items per month? The first step of the request for reconsideration is the request will be reviewed by the Dickinson Public Library's director and staff in relation to their mission and the selection criteria stated in the policy. It also states that if a patron wishes to appeal the decision of the library's director, they may do so to the library board. The site states that the library board will not reconsider more than 3 appeals per board meeting. The appeals will be addressed in the order they are received. So, per my understanding, it would take months for me to complete the entire process for all the books I have concerns about. Then, more time if I appeal the decision, depending on what they are, to the library board. So now I will be working on 3 requests for reconsideration forms per month for the next at least few months. I have filled out my first 3 forms on 2/28/25. I must say they are not easy to submit, but are doable. Why can the requests for reconsideration reconsideration forms only be submitted on paper and not be electronically, unlike the collection suggestions. Also, my letter from last month didn't ask for these books to be reconsidered. I was a concerned community member bringing awareness to the board of the type of books that are being ordered into the library and the reaction of the child patrons when they saw them. And that possibly the books that are planning to be ordered in the future be more educational and virtuous. Number 4, and the books weren't just ghost books. The topics were witchcraft, monsters, cryptozoology, hauntings, ghost tales, angels and demons, cults, spirits, heavy spiritual darkness topics, and guides to the supernatural. I am certain that there are better suited topics of books that the library could invest in, instead of these books on demons, darkness, and depravity. Number 5, Brian, I would like to see the book balance you referenced at the February meeting to the books that I have brought before the board last month. I have seen on the newly ordered children's bookshelves books about Islam and Hinduism and Buddhism, along with witchcraft and demonology. The Dickinson's majority of population are Catholics, Christians. Where are the books that represent the religious viewpoint? Are those books being ordered by the library staff or through the collection suggestions? I can tell you that the few that are on the newly ordered shelf are from the tiny amount of collection suggestions that have been fulfilled that I submitted over the past few months. I also have to say I was very disappointed at the tone and tension of the last half of the meeting. In the writing my first letter to the library board, I didn't realize it would cause that much strife. I also hope that no other patron is lectured and criticized for not following procedures and policies like I was. The library board should be respectful and eager to hear from the community that they are serving. Just a reminder from the library board code of ethics, which states to, quote, listen and respect to the opinions of the board members, and also to ensure that the library and its facilities are well maintained, financially secure, growing, and always operating in the best interest of its users. My hope is that the library board can come together in unity to serve the Dickinson community well. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to serve on the board. Thank you for listening to my concerns again. Jenny Black. As mentioned, the library director's report that is in the packet is from the wrong month. So we'll turn it over to Ms. Newton for some updates.
Good afternoon, board members. Ian was called out for family reasons, so I am in his stand-in today. We did go over some things that he did want to mention. In regards to the May closure, the things that we've been working on to prepare for being closed for a few weeks. We've been working with our Odin office to make adjustments to lending periods and loan limits, so that happens automatically and doesn't need us to make a change every time we check somebody out. We've had some hiccups with that, and we think we have everything as it needs to be, but still try to fine tune some of that stuff. During the closure, we do plan to offer curbside pickup for anyone wanting to check out large print, adult fiction, audiobooks, and movies. Basically, the items that are housed on the main level of the library. Collections from the lower level will be unavailable during the closure. We have been providing notifications via social media, the digital display at the library, as well as bookmarks that we hand out to anyone who comes in. We're working really hard to make sure everybody's aware that we won't be open for that time period. We're also trying to make plans for how to make the most efficient move from the basement, emptying it all out. So we're working on that. Summer reading program kickoff carnival is scheduled for May 31st, 11 to 2 at Legacy Square. We are really looking forward to making some decisions about spaces in the library so that the programming team can confirm plans for summer reading program activities. Mostly whether or not the community room will be available during summer reading program. Classic collection for adult materials have been put out on the shelf and have been circulating. There had been some question about the items that were rated in 2024. From what we're able to go through, none of those items qualified as being a part of the classics collection. And I think that's all I need to say.
Any questions for Ms. Newton? library statistics that were published recently about the state of North Dakota. Some things to celebrate as we have been oftentimes celebrating some of our specific statistics, but in comparison to the state, he had said I wanted to take a moment this morning to share some figures provided to me by the state library. I know I've already gone at length at what an exceptional year 2024 was for our library, but I wanted to provide the board with some additional context. Of those, we have the third highest attendance in the state for library usage. Second highest program attendance, with only Fargo surpassing our attendance. I found this particularly impressive when you compare the numbers of programs we put on compared to Fargo. So he also provided statistics for all of the state libraries. And so just a huge congratulations to Ian, our wonderful staff, and our wonderful community for supporting our library. Anything else for the director's report? All right, we will move on. We have Engineer Keller here to talk about the expansion.
Hear me all right? Thank you, Mr. President, board members. My name is Chris Keller. I'm a senior engineer over at the city. And I just want to inform you right away, I am an engineer. I may not have spelled everything correctly. Just want to share that with you right now. But here to talk to you about the library expansion project and its current status. So what we have here is a rendering from the architect on the expansion to the west side of the building. So over here we have the historical building and the various expansions this way. We will be taking off the front of the building and expanding along the south side of the original building. I want to point out the covered walkway here as well. So here we have the demolition portion of the library. As you can see, we're not really touching that much of the existing structure for a number of reasons that we don't need to, and we would want to get into areas that are historical and potentially bring up things that don't need to be built about.
Is that this entrance right?
Yeah, that's the entrance, yes, right.
From
just over here.
the stairs going to the,
So the stairs going into the basement are shown right here. So it is just the half moon with the arches
okay.
that will have to be replaced with a new front
Thank you.
facade. We're obviously we're in this building, we're here right now. So this is what here will look like. We have book storage in this area. This is all brand new footprint there in this little area. We have our covered walkway here. Vestibule. This is designated as a periodical room with non-IT room, audiovisual room, and the red is a desk and office space. Make sure. So 902 too. So current project status is we are working with the Shipboard State Historical Preservation Office, and we have to do that as part of the construction process because the original building is on the historic register. That we're working on approval right now. We're finalizing the total install cost estimate with J.D. Dunn. The construction method we used is called CMAR, which is Construction Manager at Risk, to physical building expansion, it's approximately $2 million. That includes foundations, walls, roofs, lights, electrical. We have design contingency, construction contingency, and of course escalation is that inflation piece. The soft costs are estimated to be $710,000, which include those two numbers on the design fees, the estimated FFE, and of course the contingency for a total installed cost of $3.9 million. That's some good news. So, going through the design process, the CMAR process with Jay Dunn and Barlow and West, we were able to achieve some savings. We do believe the key repairs will, new foundation design, key repairs, will reduce the cost of the site work by $150,000. We are not going to be replacing 3 geothermal wells that we're going to be building over. Should save us $50,000. And given the current or recent history of bidding in the city, we feel that construction contingency and escalation will not, we won't be above $40,000. We also have a soft cost reduction in the design of about $100,000 for a total savings of $340,000. So quick math on that, it's about 3.5 million. And there we have it.
I have some questions regarding the dollar amount. So it looks like it's, I didn't write the 3.9, whatever, I just wrote 3.9, but subtracting that 340,000, that leaves the 3.56 million, right?
Yes.
And we were told that we had 2.25 available for this.
There's 2.6.
Okay, there's 2.6. That still leaves a margin of 1.3. And is that, you said that you're looking to start in 3 weeks? Is that, did I have that correct?
No, ma'am. Potentially, but we will get the guaranteed maximum price in about 3 weeks.
So if we were going to get started, we could save money.
No. When J. Dunn goes out to bid, they're going to go there to contact a number of
Right.
groups. They're going to agglomerate that number, and they're going to give us a number. It could be the 3 point, realistically, 3.56 is on the top end. It'll likely be less, but we don't know that until the numbers come in. I would love to tell you my crystal ball is working, but it's the best we have at this time.
So that still leaves that question of the little over $900,000 short. And I understand you say that it'll probably come in less, although I haven't seen many engineers guess less. But
Is there a plan for that 900,000? I'm sorry.
it's hard to hear in this building, and if I don't have this going, you guys can't hear me. Is there a plan? How's that money coming about? What do you guys, does the city have an idea?
The information that Ian provided for me, to me this week, included the fact that we still have support from the foundation for some of it. I don't have a firm number on that. I know that we had hoped to rely on some of that FFE stuff on the inside.
I'm sorry, what did you say about the FFE?
That we were hoping that the foundation would be able to
put $3 million into it and when we started. So that's what we're working on for right now.
Okay. And can I ask a couple more engineering questions? So how much square footage are you taking away with that little alcove? And then how much are you bringing back into with the design?
So, go back, pictures. So the difference between the demo and we're not losing any space. We have a net addition of about 2,500 square feet.
You're adding usable 2,500 square feet for books.
For books, periodicals, and office space. Ma'am, I can choose exact numbers.
Okay, I don't need to understand a lot about architecture or square footage and how much prices and what that looks like in a commercial building like this. I have no idea what the rates should look like in our day and age when price of materials are so high. I am concerned as a board though that we're going forward with something that we don't really have the funds secured for. I don't know if I don't normally go buy anything if I don't have the funds secured. I'm cautious on this. We're going to ask the city of Dickinson residents to pay for this. And I understand it's a Dickinson area public library, not just the city of Dickinson, but we're going to be taking money from the city. If in fact we have to ask them for the money, I guess that begs that question, because I'm not quite sure. The $225,000 for FFE, has that entity ever given that kind of money in a donation? I'm sorry, I should be looking here for any.
I don't have firm numbers, but the foundation consistently supports us for things like that.
Okay, and that dollar amount?
I don't know numbers historically.
All right. As a board member, I don't think this is a good time for this. It's a great plan. It's terrible timing. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I don't think anybody else can either.
$3.5 million for 2,500 square feet is ridiculous also.
I'm just talking about the square footage. I did understand that part. Hey Bernie, I'm wondering if you could just call in.
Sure, I don't know the number of
How about I call you?
All right.
Okay.
I think one thing we need to remember, especially with upcoming legislation and a lot of the issues that we've had at the library, is that a lot of those stem with the fact that our adult nonfiction and children's are on the same floor. And by doing an expansion, it allows us to maintain having this community space, but that also separates adult nonfiction from the children's section, as well as then allowing more expansion, have more room between the children's and the young adult section downstairs. And this is really aimed not only where legislation is going, where our laws are, but also where just a lot of the issues that the Dickinson Area Public Library is experiencing. I know I'm no pro at money, but I will fully support trying to find it, because I think, not that this is going to be the end-all, fix-all to our issues, but I think it's crucial, especially looking at the legislation that's coming down the line, that we separate those two sections from the library. And it would be so disheartening if we lost this community space. Looking at the number of bodies that have been in the door community if we were no longer able to host events here.
Renee, so the library foundation has talked about being able to support the FFE portion of this. Maybe I can do full, maybe I can't, but Friends of the Library. Do they have any capacity? We haven't done any private fundraising for this.
No, there hasn't been any private fundraising. I can't specifically speak to what available funds the foundation can give. I don't know those numbers. As far as the Friends, they actively support all of the programming that we do, so that is really what pays for the programming. So year over year, they are doing that.
So
I don't know that they have much more than what they've been doing.
would you have any ideas to like their capacity to organize how quickly they could organize a capital campaign?
Don't know.
Or even if we have the capacity from a staffing standpoint on that?
The Friends of the Library probably would not do the capital campaigning, it would be the foundation board that would actually do the capital campaigning. But I believe that Ian, is waiting for the final numbers to come in to be able to go out and ask, because when I went in 21 and asked for support from the county did state that they would like to see the numbers first before anything that they would come across with. So I think we need to let them get an opportunity to be able to see what those numbers are before we make any decisions.
And I think that's a key piece of this, is that we need to have our numbers.
Correct.
Mr. Keller, what did Jay Dunn say in terms of like hey, we have to start by this date type of timeline?
Their escalation numbers are for Q2 this year. Anything beyond that does risk vacation.
Okay, so June 30th. Okay. Do we know if he is on the agenda for like county commission or anything like that?
Not at this time, I don't know
Okay.
specifically, but he has been talking to the commissioners over there.
And Engineer Kelly, you had said that kind of that hard number is about 3 weeks out. Is that what we're looking at, approximately?
That's a real figure today, sir.
Yeah, so that's like getting the bids and things like that.
Right.
Bernie, you want to go ahead and speak now?
I can really hear anything what you're saying, know what the conversation is going. I really believe that we need a hard enough money we have to spend before we make commitments. And I think it's $3.5 billion for 2,500 square feet. I'm just wondering about the value there. You know, we just, the school referendum for more money, and now people's property taxes going up, and all of a sudden we're going to be coming to the city of Dickinson for more money. I think we're going to get something pretty good for it, but I think whatever the board decides, but I just don't think it's right with it until we know a firm number on what's going to cost us.
Well, Bernie, you can make it pretty easy with the county. I don't know if you can hear me, but
John said that you can make it pretty easy with the county side of it.
We would have to have more credibility for our money with our spending processes before I have only one vote, but I'd have to see more stewardship of the way we spend our money.
Mr. Chair, I would agree with you. I mean, I think with the numbers that Ian shared in that report, losing this space right here would be really detrimental to what they're doing here at the library. We're rivaling basically every library in the state outside Fargo, and surpassing them. And so I think that's really impressive. I think it speaks to the value of the staff that we have here and the programs that they're putting on. And if we don't do this, we're going to lose this programming space. So.
Absolutely. And the further we, look into upcoming legislation, like I just fear what the library would look like if that passed without us And yeah, some of them may seem extreme, but I think this is gonna fix, not fix, but help with a lot of the issues that we've been having.
You know, that last year was accomplished with a 20% reduction as well.
Right, the longer we sit on it, the more money that we've been losing, so.
But also that last year's numbers came after a 20% reduction
Yeah.
without losing any functionality. So I think the efficiency of the library is very high given all of the information we have.
I personally think it's a terrible idea. I don't think we need to, when we're going backwards, you know, when we're asking Ian to cut 20% and not pulling in the staffing that he had asked was not allowed by the city commission. I think it is a terrible idea to spend more money when we've been asked by the city to cut back and then to go ahead and spend more on this.
Lisa, can I just jump in there real quick?
Yeah.
I want to make it clear that that was not a request from the city. That was Ian finding savings for the library. He came to us and brought a 20% savings. That was not a request from us. That was Ian being a steward of the dollars that the city provides to the library.
That's not how it was portrayed to me last year when we started going through the budget together. He was asked to cut 25 numbers. So, I wish he was here. We could talk about that a little bit openly, but, even with that deficit, and, do we know where the governor's bill is on property taxes? Do we know where that sits at? I don't know. What is that gonna look like for the city? And we are asking to spend money. I know it's been earmarked for this since 2016. Is that correct? 2016?
Does he start this process?
In 2016?
Yes.
Yes.
Dream started then.
Yes, and it's been cut and cut and cut, and inflation has cut it and cut it. So is this really the same vision, or is this just a modified Band-Aid to use the money that was still left? I don't know. I'm not in favor of going forward with this, not with taxpayer dollars, and they're not even my taxpayer dollars. I don't live in the city, but I want to be a good steward of that as well.
I do, one comment I have, in the event that this expansion doesn't go through, in realistic terms, this room that becomes adult nonfiction will require us to reduce the amount of volumes we have in that collection in order to fit the space, because they won't all fit. But also, for state aid or state funds, not having a space available for community use takes away some of those funds from us. So that's just one of the pieces. Does it make or break it? No, I don't think.
Is that part of the crew, the criteria with those 5 levels? Is that
It is the, future focus libraries, yeah.
okay?
So it does have a little bit of a financial impact when we don't have space for public use.
I understand that. The timing is terrible. Great project, great idea, great look at it, and I thought it was gonna be aesthetically a little bit worse than what it looks pretty good, but it's bad timing with the dollars.
Any other discussion or questions for Engineer Keller? Engineer Keller, do you have anything else to add?
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. All right, on to our unfinished business. We have the approval of the expense reports. Questions or discussion?
Do you want to go back on Teams so you can hear? Onto that Teams, then you can hear better. Thank you. Okay, so we just leave it this way? Okay, I'm gonna turn you down because we have background noise.
And then you're looking through that
for visitors, how are the visitor numbers calculated?
That's a door count?
From a camera?
No, we have a door count on those gates.
Oh, okay.
So it is counting bodies through the door.
So it just counts
On both
bodies that
doors.
come in and out?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Renee, do you check that at the end of the day to make sure that everybody that came in?
No.
Might not
We
be
use our
bad.
eyes to make sure that everybody's happy.
Could I make a motion to approve the expenditure report?
I second that motion, and
All right, we have an approval by Cop, a second by Carlson. Any discussion?
I have a quick question. This is on the bills document, is that correct?
Yes.
There was a couple things that stood out to me. I just have quick questions about the experience pass. I saw that that was for the zoo in Bismarck. Is that experience pass serves how many patrons in that cost of $185?
When patrons come to check out an experience pass, they have that pass for 1 week. So in essence, 52 times it could be checked out.
So it serves, but that $185, that's like a 1 week cost? Or I guess I'm just trying to.
No, that cost is a one-time cost, and then that gets the family indoors.
For 52 weeks. Okay, perfect. And then the summer reading program performance fee for $500, what is that?
It's probably one of the, people that comes in and does, an event for us. We've had a magician before, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm guessing it's probably what that is.
I just have two more questions. On the Folk City Directory.
Yep.
What is that?
Folk City Directory is a resource that libraries have that includes, residents, addresses. It is historically, something that libraries have kept. We have copies of our folk directories, some sort used to be called a crisscross directory, even like 1918. It is relevant to residents of a community during a given year.
So like the white pages? Kind of? Okay. It just gives you like names of people in the city and their addresses?
Yeah, sometimes it includes, occupations. I don't know if the, like, modern day ones do, but those ones do.
And then lastly, I observed Prime annual membership fee of $779. Is there a reason that that is so high?
We have a business prime account, and it's a city account, where all the departments are included now, so I don't know how that's set up.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to make one thing more clear again, that these bills have already been paid, correct? That we are approving tonight, they've already, checks been sent out, correct?
Any further discussion? We have a motion on the table from Cop, a second from Manny for the approval of the expense report, and we will do a roll call vote on that.
Cohen? Aye. Oderman?
Aye.
Marsh? Powell?
Nay.
On?
No.
Kuntz?
Aye.
Cop? Aye. Carlson?
Aye.
All right, motion passes, and the finance report. Any discussion?
Is this working? I have a question about, is it Jaylene, who is the interlibrarian librarian? Is her position going to be rehired?
Yeah, that position was posted, for one, I think it was open for a week, closed on Friday.
libraries. The state aid is a conglomeration of funding pools that go for state aid, libraries, and smaller status part of it. But the ones for the library, I know, is one that they have a pool, and it's upon your status, and that's how much money you get on that, and you get that one time.
And that comes straight from the state
Correct.
to that, was it 264? Is that the fund you said? I don't remember what you said the library fund was, what number that was. But regardless. Okay, and the state aid distribution, that comes from the city's portion of what they get, and the city decides what percentage.
That's split up with the state aid, with park, library, and everything.
Right, and the city commission decides those percentages, correct?
It's already stated. in-
Right, but it was decided at one point by the city commission, those percentages. Yes. Okay, I just didn't understand the difference because they're both state aid. Okay, I understand, thank you.
Any other discussion around the financial report? Is there a motion?
I make the motion, accept finance report.
All right, we have a motion by Carlson, a second from Titcomb. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote for that.
Titcomb?
Aye.
Waterman?
Aye.
Marsh? Paul?
Nay.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Kuntz?
Aye.
Pop? Yes. Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item C under unfinished business is our retention of council.
So the report I had gotten from Ian regarding retaining counsel for the library board, he did speak with some local attorneys and some out-of-state attorneys, and at this point, it would be best to create a scope of work so that we could actually get concrete numbers. Can't get a real accurate quote without them knowing exactly what's expected.
That makes sense. Do you know if any conversation with like state library or other library directors has happened? Are you aware of any? All right, so we'll just leave that on under unfinished business for an update. On to our new business.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
real quick before I come on, was he looking for some direction from us on that?
And if we have, if he expressed to me that if the scope of work was drawn up, that would allow for greater accuracy to provide quotes.
I mean, that's really difficult to like gauge what the scope of work is because, I mean, I guess, what would it cost to defend, one employee in that given situation?
Sure.
Because that's why we,
Yeah, and I think that's some of the things you would outline as far as what it is you're looking for from council, whether it's somebody who's here who can answer questions when you have a meeting, whether it's someone, I don't know if it's that sort of situation where it's someone's going to come to defend library staff. If it is, on a case by case, or like the time frame, I think there needs to be some outlines as far as what it is the board is looking for in order for them to provide any sort of idea of what.
I mean, I think that was the context of the conversation was in the event that somebody was charged and is being prosecuted. And then we also talked about when does the city cut ties with that individual, and, yeah, I think, like, in the event that the city or library director believes that that staff member is innocent, I think that's the scope of work, is like, how much is it gonna cost to defend that individual in light of the new law?
Yeah, and I don't know what sort of scenarios he brought in his conversation. I guess my thought was that it was more like when you were wondering, does this policy fall into this, and does it read right, and what is this saying? I thought those were maybe some of the discussions he had, was policy review.
Yeah, see, and I think, at least myself as a board member, I'm comfortable with,
boards, but it's not technically under her requirements, is what was said.
Okay.
Yeah, that other additional city boards don't fall under her requirements.
Yeah, so I guess the scope would be defense and then policy review type of stuff.
I agree, defense and inquiry. And I think our previous conversation was also finding an attorney in which familiarity to library.
And I know he had mentioned there are cities that have attorneys that sit on their board, so if putting up to the public, we have an open board position, at least one open board position coming up in June. If there are any attorneys in the 3-county area that have an interest in sitting on our board, we would love for you to apply. All right, in May, due to the construction happening, we cannot have the meeting in this room. A suggestion was made of having the meeting completely online via Teams. Vice President Ani, myself, and Director Anguiano had a chance to sit down, and I know, Lisa, you said you were brainstorming or talking with a few other options.
Yes, I did get a hold of the county auditor's office, and they have offered their county commissioner meeting room on the 14th. But because they do pay for security, we would need to be done and out the door by 5, not finishing at 5. We have to be all gone because they lock the doors at that moment. So, and there's no fee to it, and they have hardwired microphones. I went over there and looked at the space, and it can fit all 9. We have to use the attorney bar and where the street and sheriff sit. We have to go out a little further, but it's doable, and we have the space. They have the space for us where we can still have people come and be part of the audience.
Do we need an official motion on that if we're switching the?
I think so, because I'd like to see it on our website as well as our Facebook page that we are moving locations. But it is a hard, everybody has to be out by 5.
Lisa, does that include cleanup too? You know, if we have chairs and stuff, and you sort of really cut it short?
It is actually set up for, I feel like I'm yelling now. It's actually set up for meetings such as this. I don't think there'll be any cleanup unless we have a lot of cracker eating or something going on the side.
No popcorn. So
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
Just real quickly, I think it's important to note that the meeting isn't moving necessarily because of construction. They're moving adult nonfiction in here, correct? And it stays here.
No, this time is for the main closure for the construction of the basement.
Right, it is
Oh,
for
that's right,
the
yes,
remodeling.
I forgot about the
Yep.
remodeling of the basement.
Yeah, we have that first, if that's the
Okay.
answer first. Yeah, so that is just for the month of May because of the remodeling in the basement. So, I'll put a motion on the table, that will be moving the May 14th moving the May 14th meeting to the Stark County Commission, for regular 3:30 time with a hard stop and exit of the building before 5 p.m. Is there a second?
I move that. A second.
All right, any further discussion? Thank you, Lisa, for contacting the county. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. And the motion carries. Next order, new business, we do have at least two technically. Both Brian and myself, our terms are up this year. It's end of Brian's second, it is the end of my first. And so applications are always open year-round. Applications that would have been received for the last year are no longer held on file. So if there is somebody that was interested in the seats last year, that application will need to be filled out again, as well as those board members who are expiring and eligible for a second term also need to complete the interest form, which is located on the city website as well as under the library board on Do you know if any forms, when we met last week, there had not been any submitted? Okay, so there has been some submitted, because that does come on the city and then to the library, correct? Perfect, so there has been some submitted. And then we will just need to talk about the process of selection.
I think that we need to address that at this meeting, and
Sure.
we're going to have an appointment by June? We looked at the timeline earlier, but we need to have a deadline that we need to review them, right? Or do we do that application for bringing the top three?
So
Go ahead.
we don't have any formal policy or procedure around the interview. Last year, as far as my knowledge from the years that I've been on the board, we have never interviewed. We've simply taken the applications and done a ranking process on that. Last year was the exception where we did invite the candidates to come in and interview. But there is no formal policy or procedure for that interview part of that.
I was interviewed and I was 2023.
Was it the year prior?
I was in the year
Okay.
before.
So interviews have been done, oh, okay, that's it, the last 2 years, interviews have been done. Prior to that, from what I remember my first year, and then from conversation with Ian, interviews weren't done. But here we sit, have that
Last
conversation.
year, as applications came in, I think
We received them in a lump, like we set a date for cutoff, and then we received the applications in a lump.
And then from there, we ranked them,
We ranked them.
and then we interviewed the top three.
I believe, I know 3 interviews were had, I'm not sure if more than 3 applicants.
I feel like that went smooth. I don't know if everything else feels, but.
So also looking forward to the May meeting, we have a hard prior to 5 p.m. stop. So, something to consider, do we want to go back to just the rank? Do we feel the interview is needed? Do we want to have the applications close prior to the May so we can have a discussion or decision made in May?
So in light of this conversation, is the county commissioner in the right place to do it? Why are we considering the city commissioner like we usually have?
I do believe it was unavailable. I think it was checked.
I can't hold that many in a board. That's what I was.
Oh, but we got those side tables and stuff, I don't know why, I mean.
I was told that the room was not available, and they
Oh, okay,
also
so-
stated that we
yeah.
don't have enough room.
Is there another community room that the city has?
Or, I mean, like, I'm just thinking, like, is there, another day, not necessarily that Wednesday? Because, I mean, that hard 5 stop might be difficult if we're going to be doing the proper due diligence on this.
We should bring a consider out there, because like, I would be good with going through them like we did before and not doing in-person interviews. Because prior, the interviews actually caused issues, and before that, we didn't run into that. So I think without the interviews again, doing all the paper copy would be the way to go.
Do you think that if they cause negative issues, the interview?
Well, the first year there was not well communicated.
Sure. No, I'm just saying, what did you mean by that comment, if you could just expand?
Yourself and a couple of others went to the city commission meeting about the fact that you were interviewed here at the library and how it wasn't appropriate for them.
I don't think I went to the city for that reason.
Well, during the year you came on.
Oh, okay, yes. I think that last year's rhythm worked really well. I wouldn't mind meeting a different day. I do think, so we have to make the decision so that the board members are present at the June meeting. Is that correct, calendar-wise, or is it July? Okay.
July.
So the decision has to be made in June. Okay. So I think if we receive the applications by next month's meeting,
And I like the interview process. I think it's helpful. Yeah.
I do think you learn more from a person when you're, yeah.
He said, I think we need that interview. All right, so is there a motion on the table for how we want to proceed?
I think I would move to proceed with the process that we put in place last year. But we probably need to have a conversation about, again, moving the meeting someplace else that maybe doesn't have the hard five.
I think that would be for the June meeting, we have the interview. We just need to have the date in May that the interested parties have their interest in by then.
Okay.
So the
So
June
then we're just
meeting
gonna,
is- Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I was saying, so May, we have the top three.
No, in May, we would have,
Receive the packet of.
And then June, we have the interviews.
Yeah, so like the cadence of this would be, you have the interviews at that June meeting, and then at the second commission meeting of June, commission to appoint the individual board individuals.
Nice, yeah.
So do
But
you
now,
want,
I'm sorry, I'm
go ahead.
just clarifying, by listening to you guys, so we get all the applicants, we rank them. We have all that done by the deadline, and then we have those three top applicants presented to us in the May, so we can be done by 5,
no,
and then we interview in June.
timeline, I think is what, okay, clarify me if I'm wrong. We have the applications, we close it before the May meeting. Board members receive a packet of all completed applicants at the May board meeting. Then, let's set a date a week later.
or 2 weeks, 1
2
week,
weeks.
2 weeks later, that we have to have our scoring done.
So by end of May, we can set a date for end of May to have a 3-2-1 rank, where 1 is our top choice, 2 and then 3. And then Ian will contact our top 3 and invite them to the June board meeting, where there will be a short interview. Can that be a
Okay.
motion?
Can we add to that though now? We have all that packet in front of us. Who's taking all of those and all of our scores? I mean, I did that for the eval, but I'm notes going on this one. I got so much going on.
Yeah, Ian did the scoring last year, as long as the board is comfortable with that. I mean, I don't want to volunteer while he's not here, but I know he's done it in the past, so I think he would be fine with us emailing or personally bringing in our top 3 choices.
And I think he shared the scores of each person. I can look back in our email
And that's not asking too much of him?
Unless there's a board member that wants to take it, I cannot because my name will be in that hat.
Right. No, I mean, that's fine. If Ian did an excellent job and he, like you said, he's not here to say, yeah, I'll do it, Ian.
If Ian is not able, I mean, I could compile the scores. I just don't want it to, if he can't do it, but I would be willing to.
There'd be less bias if anything, if there's any question on that.
If he
Right.
did.
Yeah, I support Ian doing it. I mean, let's just hope he agrees.
So let us set a couple dates quick. If we close the city interest form, should we do it the week prior to the May meeting? We have the calendar, since everything else is due, additions, speaker forms, things like that. So if we close the city interest form on April 30th, which would be the week before the April meeting,
Well, actually, May.
or sorry, April 30th is the week before the May meeting. Oh, no, 7th. May 7th. Sorry, we meet the first Wednesday, so I'm collaborating here twice. Closed city interest forms are due by May 7th. The board will receive packets of those completed forms at the May meeting. Boards rank their top 3 choices, 1 being their first choice. Is 7 days enough time? Board.
Should be
Okay, so the board emails or gets their top 3 choices to Ian by the 21st, which gives Ian 2 weeks to contact the top 3 choices and invite them to the June 11th meeting, which should take place here in the community room for a short interview if they're interested in coming. Okay, I heard me say travels.
Sounds good to me.
And I think as board members, we each came up, did we come up with 3 questions? That we, I mean, not that we asked them all, but just
Right.
so that.
Be prepared with a couple of questions. You've
For
increased
that.
in size too, so 1 or 2 would probably do the job. Alright, since I just said that, should I just make that also my motion? Since those were my words anyway. So I move to do what I just said. Real official. Alright, motion by Kuhn, second by Titcomb. Any further discussion on that? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. And motion carries. Alright, we have a request for reconsideration that has been submitted. Let me make sure I have those handy. According to the process, the request for reconsideration was submitted to the library director. His response was sent. All board members received both the set of 3 requests for reconsideration from Ms. Black, and we all received Director Inguiano's response. Correct. Did we all receive his response? Okay. We were like CC'd on emails. I'm never sure if things are coming just to me or to the board. So, hopefully you all had a chance to review the request for reconsideration, his response, and the books themselves, as I know I sent out an email reminder that those were on Ian's desk and available for board to review to make this process go a little more smoothly. Is there any discussion? You know, for me personally, looking at our policy, looking at the materials, the fact that all 3 materials are considered YA, young adult, which can range through 18, 19, but on some, some classify young adult all the way into young 20s. I don't see any conflict with the materials and our policy.
Mr. President, I didn't see the shelf, but were these front facing?
No, they're on.
I think we talked about that at last meeting.
I will say I came in yesterday and talked about the matter, talked to Renee for a while, and I agree with you that they're classified as young adult, non-children, and if you look at the context and the way stuff is written, a kid might open them, they're not going to read them very long, because it's basically set up like a textbook, there's not many photos, it's just all words.
I know in Ms. Black's public comment that was shared at the beginning, I did want to point out some of the statistics. One of her concerns was the balance of the collection, which is part of the policy in there as well. And so within Ian's response to her, he had collected some statistics about collection balance. He had said here at the DAPL, we have in the entirety of our collection 137 items pertaining to the religion of Islam, 59 pertaining to Judaism, 952 pertaining to the supernatural. In contrast, we have 4,345 pertaining to Christianity. Books with Christian themes are the 3rd most numerous of all the genres in our library, with only fantasy novels and westerns being more heavily represented. Further, Christian fiction is one of only 2 genres which we purchase on a monthly basis through subscription, in addition to seeking out those titles actively through the acquisition process. We acknowledge and celebrate the Christian membership of our community, and we purchase heavily to support their stated interests. With these figures in mind, we do not feel these items represent a significant imbalance
material selection. No, not that one, I am really sorry, okay. General selection criteria, the first bullet point is permanent value. Do we see a permanent value on these? I'm gonna go through the bullet points. Contemporary significance and attention of professional and recognized review sources. Do we know the reviews? Where those reviews came from? Is this a popular interest? Do we know that? Who constitutes the interest? Is that subjective or objective? Date of publication. We've had that conversation about the date of publication. Is 5 years too much? Is it not too much? There's not an actual date here. Available elsewhere, we can find that piece. Structural integrity of the physical item, that is objective. Size of the item. Authority. The item must be available from a trusted source. That would come from whoever ordered this, right? They would dig into whoever, if you say it's textbook, right? Then there would be like factual, is this factual, or
I don't think it's technically a textbook, it's just like the way it was written.
the way it was written?
Yeah, it's like not technically.
Okay. Local interest or community relevance. Again, that goes back up to popular interest. Same bullet point, different spot, different wording. Is this what is of interest for our, you say 18 and 19-year-olds? That's what you use. Is that what section?
Well, it was YA, which is young adult, which is typically targeting anywhere from like, I would say 16 to young 20s.
20. So we have a section set apart for this age bracket,
YA.
but we have it's
All of them are
separate.
the yellow spine label that states that the books are YA. Now,
But it's not downstairs next to where all our teens are,
so a lot of libraries do consider YA as part of their children's section. I know with the expansion, one of the plans is to put more separation between them. But YA, I mean, a lot of high school libraries will carry YA materials because they sometimes, and I guess Ms. Newton, correct me if I'm wrong, YA is typically targeting, was that age range an okay estimation that I gave?
I think so, I was thinking 14 to 18-year-olds.
14 to 18.
New adults, so like 17.
but it is in the section where 8, 9, and 10-year-olds can get a hold of these three.
8, 9, and 10-year-olds can get a hold of any books in the library.
Any books in the library.
But yes, they were on the same display, because I do believe the new materials is a combination of children's and YA at the moment.
NYA.
No, and
Oh.
YA at the moment, but I believe in the conversation I had with Ian, that with the expansion or the movement of adult nonfiction, that they would try to put more separation between children's and YA. And YA.
Okay. And there's one bullet point I missed, I think, impact on materials budget, which it seems that some of the ones that have been requested lately are getting kicked out for something that, if it's correct, what she says here is the cost of the book. I didn't go back to the invoice to find out how much these books cost, but I'm wondering, is this, pardon,
It said it was $34.
on the invoice?
Yeah, I actually observed $36.99,
So it's just
$38.99
pretty standard.
for.
But we had other books on that request list because of price that were in the 20s, that were local authors. So I have a hard time saying that this is a great idea, being where they're placed. If we want to have I don't know, this is just a bad idea to have this with younger available for the in that area, regardless if the kids can go anywhere in the library.
I didn't bring the research with, but I know statistically, I can't speak for the Dickinson Area Public Library, but I can speak to the libraries that I work in. And to myself as a reader, I don't know that I'd be a reader if R.L. Stine was not writing Goosebumps. And those are not YA, those are for children. And truly, what got me to be a reader was the Goosebumps series. I still have all of my Goosebumps. I know Commissioner Orderman spoke to that in a previous conversation as well.
being requested by? Is it being requested by the parents, or is it being requested by the children?
It's
Because
being ordered because of the popularity of the topic. Part of the
It's
librarian's
really-
job is to know what's trending, what is being purchased. I know we've had this issue with graphic novels over and over again, maybe slightly off topic, but it's what patrons are asking for. They may not be requesting it
so
through
we
a
don't
formal
see it through
process.
the formal process. How do we know that that's being
They
requested?
see it through the circulation desk. Those books are constantly crossing the librarian's desks. And I can, speak too, but horror, like I said personally, but it's horror and graphic are probably next to maybe sports, nonfiction, the most popular genres that circulate in the libraries that I spend most of my days in as well. It's what kids are reading. And I think this, especially as this being marked YA, is content appropriate for the age levels that it's intended for. Should it have been on a different display? Sure. I would absolutely say that new book display, we can separate the children's and the YA. I don't know that, besides the fact that there's no space. That's, I think, why they're together.
Can I just make a comment? I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Finish your thought.
I think
The response from Ian here, I've actually sat down with Ian and had a conversation with him about what he wrote about in his response, saying Christian fiction is one of only 2 genres which we purchase on a monthly basis through a subscription. That is primarily and exactly to the adult section of our library. So these numbers, I think, as personally, I would find it helpful. This is a young adult book that is being a request for reconsideration, but I'm not confident that from what he shared here, piecing my conversation together with him, that these numbers are accurate to the young adult section. And so I would love to see those numbers, because this says Dickinson Area Public Library as a whole.
Okay.
And so,
I'm not sure what month it was that I literally looked all that up and came with those numbers. I need to look that up again, in the children's section. I brought those numbers.
okay,
And I think one thing to remember is this was just a what's new display.
Right.
The balance of what's on that shelf does not represent the balance of what's in the collection and what's available to patrons.
but that is what is coming in, and so that is what is being highlighted. And so if we're gonna be accurate, it would be helpful for this response to be pointed to the young adult section and come with those numbers instead of the library as a whole.
So, conversation we're having, just in general, do we have an issue with these 3 materials being in the YA section, or do we have a larger issue with how ordering is done and balance of the collection?
Well, I don't see how this is the balance of the collection when it was just newly ordered. Are you saying now if we order sci-fi fun stuff, we have to have a balance in the new display? I don't understand.
I mean, yeah, I don't think you can balance every order. Things are gonna trend, needs are gonna need to be filled. I don't think every order can be policed for balance. I appreciate looking at the collection of a whole and ensuring that we have a balanced collection, but we can't guarantee that in every order that's placed.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I thought that was a lot of effort too on his part. He had an excellent response. But I have grandkids, and I was a teacher 30 years, and those books are hot topics right now.
And not every book in the library needs to be for everyone. And that's okay.
It does not, so I guess you understand my opinion. I don't have a problem with those books.
And going back to the content of the three that were specifically brought up, when I went through and read them, both, they're pretty much all set up as various short stories or vignettes that focus on historical context. So they cover everything from Babylonian Greek history to the Salem witch trials, in the witchcraft book. The Teen Guide to Supernatural connects to pop culture, and it also provides a lot of different ways for people who want to branch off and read something else about the animal. They hear here, so they want to go look at another book, and kind of helps foster more learning.
And then for the right hand where they were labeled as YA, I mean, it gives the indication where you are and what kind of book it would be. So the information is there prior to even pulling the book out of what demographic you're already into.
Great.
Is there a motion that we need to make, or what is there, what do we do, what is this that we do next on this agenda item?
Is there a motion? I guess is where we're at in the conversation.
I would make a motion that these three books stay in their current location in the library.
I'll second that.
The motion on the table is for the three books that we received the requests for reconsiderations for to remain in the YA section of the library. Motion was made by Kopp, second by Titcomb. Is there any further discussion?
Is there any reason that they can't go and be labeled adult and taken out of the young adult?
They're not
I
written for the adult
don't see
section.
adults, yeah, I don't see adults reading that. That is, honestly, those are 13 to 16. When I looked at them, read them, they are 13 to 16 interests to expand.
I agree, they're geared towards teenagers.
There's also plenty of research on the benefits of horror for adolescents. Like I said, I would not be a reader today if it weren't for Goosebumps, and I don't see that these are much different.
Goosebumps is, that is so much different than witchcraft, ghosts and tales of haunting, and specifically a teen guide to the supernatural. That is such a different level.
But I see.
I appreciate what you're saying, that the evolution of time has actually brought us to this point that teens are wanting to read this stuff, but it's accessible now. It wasn't accessible when Troy was a young man looking at reading a little bit, what do you want to call Goosebumps, a little bit out there. We've gotten so far above the levels of where out there is that I don't think this is appropriate for children.
Also, if I could just say something, if you say, looking at these, it's more textbook style, I do think we have to ask the question, $34 for each of these books is like $300 just on this paper. And someone could easily go to the internet and look up textbook questions of these things. So I think it comes back again to, are we using the funds that we have been given from our taxpayer dollars in a wise way? And I would say no.
I think once again you have to pay attention to the statistics of circulation, which I know our librarians are. Like I said, I don't have the data for this library, but I know how often I see children's horror including books on similar topics.
Well, it's tricky to have data information because these are all new, so.
Right, but when you have a popular topic.
My biggest fear is restricting these books. Every generation, okay, so Troy's is Goosebumps. But, I mean, there's Narnia, my gosh, there's Macbeth. Now we're looking at Harry Potter. And it's just, everything has magic. Everything is for kids to escape. If your child does not want to read it, don't check it out.
And I
Right,
think
but
children are very quick to.
our librarians are saying no to patron suggestions for certain reasons. So we're just trying to be consistent. We are seeing patron suggestions come through that they're quick to say, for this reason, X, Y, and Z, no. And so,
But these books are also going through that same, have gone through that same exact checklist, which is set by the policy that we've created. subjectivity to everything, absolutely. Motion on the table is for the books to remain in the YA section. Is there any further discussion? We will do a roll call vote. Call.